A pizza delivery truck rumbled to a stop outside a quiet bank in the leafy suburb of San Isidro, Buenos Aires. The driver, a young man in a red cap, hopped out, balancing a cardboard box in one hand and a receipt in the other. He rang the bell, exchanged a few words with a nervous-looking bank employee, and handed over a steaming pepperoni pizza. Then, as quickly as he'd arrived, he was gone, back into the city's midday traffic, oblivious to the chaos that was about to unfold. Inside the bank, the scene was eerily calm. The staff, pale and wide-eyed, clustered together in the lobby. The vault stood open, its heavy door yawning like the mouth of a cave. The safe deposit boxes, hundreds of them, were empty, their contents vanished. There was no sign of violence, no alarms blaring, no shattered glass or bullet holes. Just a gaping hole in the floor, leading down into darkness. By the time the police arrived, sirens wailing, the robbers were already gone. Not a single soul remained inside the bank. The only evidence of their presence was the empty vault, the stunned hostages, and the lingering aroma of pizza. This was no ordinary bank robbery. In January 2006, a group of thieves pulled off one of the most audacious heists in history. They tunneled into a branch of Banco Rio, one of Argentina's most prominent banks, stole millions in cash and valuables, and vanished without a trace. No one was hurt. No shots were fired. The alarms never sounded. And when the dust settled, the robbers had become folk heroes, admired by a public weary of corruption and economic turmoil. Let's rewind to the morning of January 13, 2006. San Isidro, a tranquil suburb north of Buenos Aires, was just waking up. The streets were lined with jacaranda trees, their purple blossoms carpeting the sidewalks. At the corner of Avenida del Libertador and Acasuso, the local branch of Banco Rio was opening for business. Inside, the staff went about their routines, counting cash, checking ledgers, greeting the first customers of the day. Outside, the world moved at its usual pace. A mother walked her child to school. A man in a suit hailed a taxi. And, just before noon, a pizza delivery truck pulled up to the curb. The driver, whistling a tune, carried a large pepperoni pizza to the bank's front door. He rang the bell, exchanged a few words with a bank employee, and left, none the wiser. It was a scene so ordinary, so mundane, that no one could have guessed what was about to happen. Shortly after the pizza arrived, chaos erupted. 6 masked men stormed into the bank, brandishing weapons and shouting orders. Customers and staff were herded into a corner, their hands raised in fear. The robbers moved with military precision, their faces hidden behind balaclavas. But something was off. The men were calm, almost polite. They reassured the hostages, telling them that no one would be hurt if they followed instructions. They collected cell phones and wallets, but made no move to open the cash registers. Instead, they focused their attention on the vault, the heart of the bank, where hundreds of safe deposit boxes lined the walls. Outside, the police responded with overwhelming force. Within minutes, the bank was surrounded. Snipers took positions on nearby rooftops. Negotiators set up a command post. News crews arrived, their cameras trained on the entrance. The city held its breath, bracing for a violent showdown. Inside, however, the atmosphere was strangely relaxed. The robbers chatted with the hostages, even cracking jokes. One of them, a man with a deep voice, asked if anyone was hungry. When a bank employee timidly suggested pizza, the robbers laughed and placed an order. The pizza arrived before any trouble. The hostages ate, the robbers watched, and the police outside waited for a crisis that never came. While the world focused on the hostage drama unfolding above ground, the real action was happening below. 2 months earlier, a group of men had rented an office in the building next door to the bank. They introduced themselves as rehabilitation workers, claiming they were building a training room for physical therapy. The construction noise was constant, but no one paid much attention. After all, Buenos Aires was a city in perpetual renovation. But this was no ordinary construction project. Every night, after the office workers went home, the gang returned. They donned overalls, unpacked their tools, and began to dig. Using shovels, pickaxes, and even a homemade periscope to monitor their progress, they carved a tunnel 30 meters long, straight beneath the bank. The work was painstaking. The soil was dense, the air thick with dust. They reinforced the tunnel with wooden beams, careful to avoid the bank's pressure sensors and alarm systems. They mapped out the vault's location with military precision, using blueprints stolen from a corrupt city official. Every detail was planned, every risk calculated. By the time January 13th arrived, the tunnel was complete. All that remained was to break through the floor of the vault and make history. Back in the bank, the robbers sprang into action. While 2 men kept watch over the hostages, the others disappeared into the vault. They pried open 143 safe deposit boxes, filling duffel bags with cash, jewelry, gold bars, and priceless heirlooms. The haul was staggering, estimated at over $20 million. The robbers worked quickly but methodically, careful not to damage the boxes or leave fingerprints. They even took time to leave a message on the vault wall. In a neighborhood of rich people, without weapons or grudges, it's just money, not love. The words were signed by Walter, the gang's negotiator. As the police outside negotiated for the hostages' release, the robbers below were already making their escape. One by one, they slipped through the hole in the floor, disappearing into the darkness of the tunnel. The last man out sealed the entrance behind him, leaving no trace. When the police finally stormed the bank, they found the hostages unharmed, the robbers gone, and the vault empty. The only clue was the graffiti on the wall and the lingering scent of pepperoni. The police were baffled. They had surrounded the bank, blocked every exit, and monitored every phone call. Yet the robbers had vanished without a trace. It soon became clear that the hostage crisis had been a brilliant diversion. While the world watched the drama unfold above ground, the real heist was happening below. The tunnel was a masterpiece of engineering, complete with electric lights, ventilation, and even a pulley system to transport the loot. The robbers emerged from a manhole several blocks away, changed clothes, and melted into the city. They left behind no fingerprints, no DNA, no witnesses. The only evidence of their escape was a pile of dirt and a few discarded tools. The police launched a massive manhunt, but the trail quickly went cold. The robbers had planned every detail, anticipated every move. They had even studied police response times, ensuring they would be long gone before the authorities realized what had happened. The investigation that followed was one of the largest in Argentine history. Detectives pored over hours of CCTV footage, interviewed dozens of witnesses, and analyzed every scrap of evidence. Forensic teams scoured the tunnel, searching for clues. Psychologists profiled the robbers, trying to predict their next move. But the gang had covered their tracks with meticulous care. The office they had rented was spotless, the tools untraceable. The only real lead was the graffiti in the vault, signed by Walter. It was a taunt, a challenge, a reminder that the robbers were always one step ahead. As the weeks passed, the case became a media sensation. Newspapers dubbed the gang Los Ladrones del Siglo, the thieves of the century. Talk shows debated their motives, speculating about their identities. Some called them criminals, others hailed them as folk heroes. Public sentiment began to shift. In a country plagued by economic crisis and political corruption, the robbers became symbols of resistance, ordinary men who had outsmarted the system. Their audacity captured the public's imagination, turning the heist into a perverse spectacle of admiration. In the months and years that followed, the robbers faded into legend. Rumors swirled about their fate. Some said they had fled the country. Others claimed they were living quietly in Buenos Aires, enjoying their newfound wealth. Books were written. Movies were considered. The story became part of Argentine folklore, retold in bars and cafes across the city. People saw the robbers not as villains, but as anti-heroes, men who had exposed the weaknesses of a corrupt system and gotten away with it. The authorities, embarrassed by their failure, quietly closed the case. A few suspects were arrested, but most were released for lack of evidence. The loot was never recovered. The bank, eager to move on, repaired the vault and installed new security systems. But the memory of the heist lingered. It became a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most secure institutions are vulnerable to ingenuity and determination. The robbers had pulled off one of the most audacious crimes in history, not with violence or brute force, but with planning, patience, and a touch of humor. In the end, all that remained was a pizza truck, a hole in the floor, and a legend that still haunts the streets of Buenos Aires, a testament to the power of imagination and the enduring allure of the perfect crime.